Hey guys, welcome back to Bibliophile Reads. I'm Courtney and today you're joining me for my November TBR. So excited to be going into November because between a few months of very specific TBRs, this is a month where I can just read whatever I want. And this month I'm trying to scoop up things that I have missed or that I've wanted to read that I didn't get a chance to. Definitely check out my October wrap up to see what I got through because I had a huge list of books that I wanted to read in October, and I did read 19 books, but not all the ones that were on the original list. So it happens like that sometimes, and that is totally fine. And so let's talk about the books that I want to read. Most of these are on my Kindle. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. I do reading vlogs, weekly wrap-ups, Kindle videos, and would love to have you join the community. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're returning. Thank you. And you know that I have recently purchased another Paperwipe and the Color Soft. Those videos are out, so make sure you check those out. I'll link them in the cards. But because I have an abundance of e-readers, there's no reason for me to have a physical book. And really, I'm gonna look in the camera and say it. I don't want to buy physical books. It's hard because there's something about holding the physical book, but I do have Book of the Month Club that comes in physical form. I have the library that I could go to, but I honestly don't have space for the physical books. And so the e-readers are the way to go, especially if I keep purchasing them. You might as well stuff them with books. So most of these books are going to be on my Kindle. So let's get started with the first book. And I'm currently reading this book. I actually started at the end of October, but I stopped because I generally don't like to read a day or two before the new month, just so I could refresh my palette. And I definitely wasn't going to get it done before the 1st of November. So it wouldn't have counted towards October anyway. So I just paused it. But the book that I'm reading is The Chalice of the Gods. This is Percy Jackson book 6, I think they're calling it. This is still part of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And at this point, Percy Jackson, he already knows he's the son of Poseidon, and he is trying to get into the specific demigod college. And he wants to go with Annabeth, who's now his girlfriend, and she's going to be a shoo-in, but he has missed so much school and so many credits to make up that he's not guaranteed a spot at this college. And so he goes to his dad for help, and his dad says that he can get into the school if he has 3 letters of recommendations from gods, and in order to get those recommendations, he has to go back on quests. And so I really did like the Percy Jackson series. I am a Harry Potter girl, but I do like Percy Jackson as well, and I loved the TV show. And it's just a cute, fun, adventurous book. It's about 245 pages, so it's a quick read, and I'm already about 50 pages in, and so I plan to finish that up probably over this first weekend in November. By the time this comes out, it might already be done. Okay, next up, I want to read the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So last month, I did read Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is the second book in this series, and we're following different characters. This book follows Hazel. She owns the bookstore. I don't know much more than that, and I kind of don't want to know more than that because I know the premise of the series, but I don't want to be spoiled by anything. These books are really cute on the outside, but very spicy on the inside. And the last book, I listened to some of it on audio, which was really helpful because it was hard for me to get into it at first. But I'm into the world now, and it's so cute and cozy. And they're going sort of by season. So Pumpkin Spice Cafe I read in October, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore in November, and then the Christmas Tree Farm or whatever in December. So I'm excited about that. Okay, the next book on my November TBR is called The Immortal Dark. This book is by Tejas Gurma, and I just heard a lot about this book, and it's by a POC author with POC characters, and so I was excited to read this fantasy. So it says, the Cruel Prince meets Ninth House in this dangerously romantic dark academia fantasy where a lost heiress must infiltrate an Arachne society and live with the vampire or arcane society and live with the vampire she suspects killed her family and kidnapped her sister. It began long before my time, but something has always haunted our family. Orphaned heiress Kaiden Aiden grew up far from the arcane society she was born into, where human bloodlines gain power through vampire companionship. When her sister June disappears, Kaiden is convinced a vampire stole her. The very vampire bound to their family, the cruel yet captivating Susinos Sagad. To find June, Kaiden must infiltrate the elite Uxley University, where students study to ensure peaceful coexistence between humans and vampires and inherit their family legacies. I'm not going to read much more than that, but yeah, definitely, it almost gives Legendborn too. So excited to read that. Okay, the next book I have is called Perfect Fit. I'm also looking these up on my iPad on Goodreads since I don't have the physical book. The Perfect Fit is written by Claire Gilmore. It's the cutest cover. It caught my eye. I actually have it on my Kobo because I'm trying to like find time to read on both types of devices. And I have asked people like, how do you know when to buy from Kobo and Kindle? And honestly, they're the same price most of the time. So you just have to decide what you want to do. Okay, so The Perfect Fit says a hilarious and heartfelt rom-com about having it all, slowing down to see the big picture, and finding out that the person you least expect could be your perfect fit. Josephine Davis has spent her entire 20s building Revenant, a fashion brand headquartered in downtown Austin. When her biggest investor orders Josie to hire a consultant, the last person she expects to be working with is Will Grant, the twin brother of Josie's ex-best friend. Sure, Will and Josie may have shared one mistake of a kiss during senior spring break 9 years ago, but they've never been friends. She remembers him as moody. He always thought of her as shallow. Romance isn't on the table for either of them until they blink and realize there's a reason they can't stay away from each other. Oh, okay. I do love this trope. Sort of like, well, this is best friend's brother. So I'm here for that. And like I said, the cover is super adorable. And it's just a nice, cute romance. And I was here for it. It's on my list of like things I need to finish. Okay, next up, I have another book, another romance. It's called The Shotti Setup by Lily Vale. Another great cover, and it says, in this witty and heartfelt rom-com debut for fans of Jasmine Gilroy, Emily Henry, and Tessa Bailey, an Indian-American woman signs herself and her boyfriend up for a matchmaking site to prove their perfect match, only to be paired with her ex instead. High school sweethearts Rita Chitnis and Milan Rao were the golden couple until the day he broke her heart. Now, 6 years later, Rita has turned her passion for furniture restoration into her career and has an almost perfect boyfriend, Neil. The last thing she needs is for Milan to re-enter her life, but that's exactly what happens when her mother, an unfailing believer in second chances, sets them up. Milan is just as charming, cocky, and confident as he was back in school, only this time he actually needs her business expertise, not her heart to flip a hard sell house for his realty agency. Oh, I like that. Okay, so she does help him out, and of course they're gonna fall in love. So I do like that second chance. I wonder what happens to the actual boyfriend though that she's with. So I love that. Okay, next up on my list, I've had for just a couple months. It's the storied life of AJ Ficker. I feel like people have been talking about this a lot. So let me just pull it up. Okay, this book is by Gabrielle Zevin, and she also wrote Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. That's the last book and only book I've read from her. That book was intense, but in the best way. Also, I would never pick it up again, but I am interested in her style of writing. So this one says, on the faded island book sign hanging over the porch of the Victorian cottage is the motto, no man is an island. Every book is a world. AJ Ficker, the AJ Ficker, the owner, is about to discover just what that truly means. AJ Ficker's life is not at all what he expected to be. His wife has died, his bookstore is experiencing the worst sales in history, and now his prized possession, a rare collection of Poe poems, has been stolen. Slowly but surely, he's isolating himself from all the people of Alice Island. He's isolating, and then he lists like the people he's isolating himself from. So it says, even the books in his store have stopped holding pleasure for him. These days, AJ can only see them as a sign of a world that is changing too rapidly, and then a mysterious package appears at the bookstore. It's a small package, but large in weight. Nice. And then I guess that package gives him an opportunity to make his life over. So maybe it's just like a little bit more of magical realism, but that's another short book that I have had on my list for a while that I want to check out. Okay, next up, I want to read We Used to Live Here. Now, this is kind of giving October, but I did not get to it. And it says, Out Meets Parasite in this eerily haunting debut and Reddit hit. As a young queer couple who flips houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal they've gotten on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working in the house one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived here years before and asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in. As soon as the strangers enter their home, uncanny and inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. So even though it gives October vibes, I think that's that's going to be a speedy read. I see it being fast-paced. And I definitely want to check it out because it just sounds good. And I didn't get a chance to get to it during the October season, because for me, November starts Christmas. I celebrate Christmas and that's when it starts. So next up, I have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is sort of a take off of the Cruel Prince series, and this is part of a duology. And this one says a runaway queen, a reluctant prince, and a quest that may destroy them both. 8 years have passed since the Battle of the Serpent, but in the icy north, Lady Nor of the Court of Teeth has reclaimed the Ice Needle Citadel. There she's using an ancient relic to create monsters of stick and snow who will do her bidding and exact her revenge. Surin, child queen of the Court of Teeth and the one person with power over her mother, fled to the human world. There she lives feral in the woods, lonely and still haunted by the merciless torments she endured in the Court of Teeth. She bides her time by releasing mortals from foolish bargains. She believes herself forgotten until the storm hag, Bogdana chases her through the night streets. Surin is saved by none other than Prince Oak, heir to Elfham, to whom she was once promised in marriage and who she has resented for years. Now 17, Oak is charming, beautiful, and manipulative. He's on a mission that will lead him into the north, and he wants Surin's help. Okay, so as I'm reading that might be on the back burner, but I mean, it's kind of good, but it's not a high priority. I think The Cruel Prince was perfect how it is. I actually thought The Stolen Heir was going to be completely like a totally different world. It doesn't seem like it is. Okay, so next up I have The Good Part. The Good Part is by Sophie Cousins. It's fairly new. And it says, tired of fetching coffees for senior TV producers, tired of going on disastrous dates, and definitely tired of living in a damp flat share with flatmates who never buy toilet rolls, Lucy Young quit her job for better living, but she's not ready to give up her dreams. Not just yet. After another diabolical date lands her in a sudden storm and no money for bus fare, Lucy finds herself seeking shelter in a tiny shop where she stumbles upon a curious wishing machine. Pushing her last coin into the slot, Lucy closes her eyes and wishes with everything she's got, "Please let me skip to the good part of my life." When she wakes the next morning to a handsome man, a ring on her finger, a high-powered job, and storybook perfect little boy and baby girl, Lucy can't believe this is real. Especially when she looks in the mirror and staring back at her own 40-something face. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good to me and so curious. I would not want to skip to the good part. I like every part of the living experience, but can you imagine just missing so much, just getting to the good part? So I want to read that. I also have The X-Vows on my list. I think this is the second time I've attempted to read this book, so we'll see how it goes. But this book's by Jessica Joyce. And it says, estranged exes must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters in the swoony and steamy second chance romance. Georgia Woodward lives by her list, none more so than the one about her ex, Eli Mora. It's full of the ironclad do's and don'ts they've been following since she returned to the Bay Area after their cataclysmic breakup 5 years ago. With the wedding of their mutual best friend Adam looming, and them about to step into their role as best woman and man, Georgia's never needed it more. She refuses to threaten their tight-knit friend group with her messy and still very present feelings. Ooh, I like that. And it kind of sounds like another book that I read. I have to remember which one. But that one sounds good as well. Okay, there's just 2 more on my list. Okay, next up, I'm waiting for The Songbird and the Heart of Stone to come out. This is by Carissa Broadbent, and this is part of the Crowns of Nyaxa novels. I think the other ones was like Serpent of Wings and something. They were really good. They have like a vampire character thing, but it's been a while since I read it, but I do want to read this when it comes out middle of the month. And it says, In the Crowns and the Axis series, Songbird and the Heart of Stone, where a court of thorns and roses meets Dante's Inferno in an epic fantasy romance of love and treachery. Mish lost everything when she was forcibly turned into a vampire. Her home, her humanity, and most devastatingly of all, the love of the sun god to whom she had devoted her life. Now sentenced to death for murdering the vampire prince who turned her, redemption feels impossible. But when Mish is saved by Asar, the bastard prince of the House of Shadow, with a past as brutal as his scars, she's forced into a mission worse than execution. A journey to the underworld to resurrect the god of death himself. So that sounds good. It makes no sense if you've never read the book, but I promise you that it's going to be good. And if you've in the series, comment down below because I think that you will like it. And then the last book is another book I'm waiting to release. It is Lost and Lassoed. Let me just pull it up. This is by Lila Sage, and I tried not to read these books, and then I was obsessed. They are so good, so quick. It says she thrives in chaos. He prefers routine. The only thing they have in common, how much they hate each other. From the author of Dun and Dustin, Swift and Saddle, the highly anticipated next book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. Teddy Anderson doesn't have a plan. She's never needed one before. She's always been more of a go-with-the-flow type of girl. But for some reason, the flow doesn't seem to be going her way this time. Her favorite vintage suede jacket has a hole in it, her sewing machine is broken, and her best friend just got engaged. Suddenly, everything feels like it's starting to change. Teddy's used to being a leader, but now she feels like she's getting left behind. Wondering if the life she lives in the small town she loves is enough for her anymore. Gus Ryder has a lot on his plate. He doesn't know what's taking care of his family's 8,000-acre ranch or parenting his spunky 6-year-old daughter who's staying with him for the summer. Gus has always been the dependable one, but when his workload starts to overwhelm him, he slips up and has to admit that he can't manage everything on his own. He needs help. His little sister's best friend, the woman he can't stand, is not who he had in mind, but when no one else can step in, Teddy's the only option. Teddy decides to use the summer to try and figure out what she wants out of life. Gus, on the other hand, starts to worry that he'll never find what he needs. Oh, is she going to be the babysitter? Oh my gosh, that's good. That is good. Okay, so you can see I have like a mishmash pile of books that I want to read in November. Another stacked pile, not to mention anything else that comes out new. Plus my Book of the Month clubs that come in. So we will see what I get into, but this is my anticipated TBR. Comment down below if you have any of these on your list for the upcoming month, or if you have read any of these that I've named or mentioned and you have some comments about them. I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.